Assalamu alaikum all. Today I am going to be talking about Dave Ramsey tips for Muslims. Now, Dave Ramsey is like a personal finance expert. He's really big online. He's kind of famous from like his radio show. And yeah, I've been really kind of binge watching a lot of his stuff. I kind of heard about him before, but it's only kind of sort of more recently I've kind of really got into his stuff. And I've very recently finished his book, which is the Total Money Makeover, which was a great book, by the way. And I find like his advice as well is like very kind of practical, very kind of common sense, and yeah, quite different from other people that I've kind of followed in the kind of personal finance space. And I believe like his information will be great for Muslims, and that's what I am going to be talking about in today's video. So, welcome to Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. Now, just a quick disclaimer, everything I say is not financial advice and it's just my opinion for entertainment and information purposes. So, who is Dave Ramsey? So, he's like very big in the USA. And as I said, he's like a personal finance expert. I think recently he's just been celebrating his 30th anniversary of like his radio show, which is how he started off originally, and that radio show's kind of got really big. And yeah, people kind of call in and they ask him questions and stuff like that. He's got like books and like he's all over YouTube as well. So definitely, I would say definitely go to YouTube, check out some of his stuff. I'll have links to that in the description. And one of the really interesting things about his backstory is that he actually made a lot of money and he kind of lost all of it and went bankrupt. Then he had to kind of build things up again. And I think when he originally made that money, there was like a lot of debt and stuff like that involved. And now he's kind of has more kind of Christian values in terms of how he manages his money. And yeah, it's very kind of common sense. And I really like the way he gives his advice. It's very direct. He's not like, kind of beating around the bush. He's kind of getting straight in there, and yeah, which makes it quite entertaining to watch as well. So as I said before, definitely check out his show on YouTube to kind of get a real good feel about it. And he has like a highlights channel, which is probably the best thing to do. You could go there and hear some really cool stories of people phoning in and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely recommend people doing that. And another interesting thing is that a lot of the stuff he says has sort of Christian values behind it. So things like avoiding debt and being generous with your money and things like that. So yeah, which definitely kind of map to Muslim values as well. Something we want to do is ideally, I would say, avoid debt. We don't want to kind of get into interest and things like that. And and it's really interesting to kind of get that angle as well. So it's really nice bit of information. And another thing is like his information and advice is very kind of common sense, very simple, very actionable advice, which is kind of the ethos of this channel as well, which is why I kind of went with this simple Muslim money. I want to make things simple, like for myself, and also hopefully I can share my experiences with others and learn from others as well. So yeah, I think being simple, practical is very important. Otherwise you could just get caught up in paralysis by analysis. And one of the things Dave Ramsey does talk about is that people think personal finance or just investing and things like that needs to be complicated, but it should be simple. And the thing is that when things are simple, it's more likely to be taken action upon. And on Dave Ramsey does talk a lot about on this channel, how keeping things simple are best, and it's a lot easier to kind of follow and understand. And then one of his sort of key sort of lessons is that money is 80% behavior and 20% in the mind. So it's all about changing behavior and stuff like that. Sometimes it's not about having the right information, it's just getting to the right habits, making sure we're doing the right sort of things. Now, one of the most famous things he's done is his book, which is called Total Money Makeover. And it's a pretty famous book, and it has these 7 baby steps, which are really kind of nice to understand. They seem quite clear, and it's what I'm actually going to be following as well. And I think these steps are very good, very simple, very common sense. And I'll be going through the baby steps in this video. But first thing I want to say is one of the things he talks about, and which I kind of believe as well, which is to set up a budget. So by a budget doesn't mean you have to be like super extra, like super detailed and spend a long time on it, but just just plan out where your money's going to go for the month, where you can potentially cut back on as well, where you can potentially save money and things like that. So I might have money for my house payments, for my bills, my grocery shopping, and try and stick to those budgets as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. Haven't been that great recently on that, so money's just been going out, and I'm like, well, just on general shopping and bits and pieces. We've been doing some work around the house, so definitely something I need to improve on at the moment. So let's get into it. So baby step number one is simply just save $1,000/ £1,000 for a starter emergency fund. So this is just to cover any sort of emergencies that come up around. And if I don't have that money saved up, then there's definitely something not right in my money systems. I need to have just that little bit of emergency fund just set up just in case anything happens. I know something might go wrong with the car, or a pipe or something at home, just any little thing like that can happen. So just by having this emergency fund is a good sort of buffer before I really kind of get into things. Now the next one, which is interesting, is baby step 2, which is pay off all debt apart from the house with the Snowball Technique. Now the Snowball Technique is basically, it works like this: you write out all your debts with the smallest to the highest, and you kind of pay off the smallest one first, and then you move on to the next one, then to the next one, then to the next one. Now, when you have debt, and debt is like a big thing Dave Ramsey talks about, is that, it kind of stops you from building wealth, because you kind of need to pay money into this debt. And also, if you're not paying money into that debt is growing and growing and growing because of interest and things like that. So that's why it's very important to kind of focus on paying debt. And like a lot of people have debt, like credit card debt, or taking out debt to buy cars and things like that. So it's definitely something he talks about. And and as Muslims especially, we want to try and avoid interest as much as possible. Now the Snowball Technique as well is, people might think that sounds a bit weird. You're writing out all your debts, smallest to the largest, and you're paying them off one by one. But it's all about behavior. So the Snowball Technique is all about behavior. With this approach, you're paying your smallest debt off first, and then it kind of gives you that win in your mind. Oh wow, okay, I've managed to pay that, and that will kind of give you that motivation to kind of continue. But also, once you've paid off that small debt, you can then use that money that you've now saved, because you've paid off one debt, and then put that into the other debt, and then that will kind of help you get rid of that one as well. However, I do want to make clear that does not mean you don't stop paying on your other debts. You just pay the minimum just to keep those ticking along, but you pay these debts off one by one, and before you know it, just like a snowball, it's kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So for example, if you were paying £100 towards your smallest debt, and then eventually you paid that off, you've got this extra £100 that you can then put into another debt. And then you could kind of keep building it and building. As you get less and less debt, you could put more money into your bigger debt. So definitely something that, if it hasn't been that clear in this video, it's something once you start doing, it kind of makes a lot more sense. And there's a lot more information out there as well on Dave Ramsey's website and just in general on the internet. And then, baby step number 3, which is a kind of bigger one, which is to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So now once you've got your £1,000 or dollars saved in your starter emergency fund, you've got rid of all your debt. Now you've got all this extra money now that you're not having to pay in debt. So using this extra money is to build up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Now this is really important because this will help cover any sort of really big sort of emergencies. So generally, if you were to lose your job, which has happened to me before, a big problem with the car, a problem with your roof, which has happened to me as well. Like that was thousands of pounds just sorting out the roof. So this will help you kind of cover that. And it's really important to have this emergency fund set up so that once you do start investing, which is in the later steps, you don't have to interrupt that investing because you need to pull money out because of some sort of emergency, an issue with the car, some DIY issue. You need to, fly somewhere quickly, see some family, or someone's ill, or something like that, because you've got the emergency fund as that buffer to help you, so you don't need to interrupt or muck around with your investments. And the next one, this was a big lesson for me, was baby step number 4, which is invest 15% of your pre-tax income into retirement. Now, I was really kind of confused about retirement. How much should I invest? And 15% sounds like a good guide. And in the course of the long run, this adds up massively. And I'll be kind of doing videos on retirement and pensions in the future as well. And I feel like Muslims, especially, we don't talk about pensions and things like that. I feel like we don't talk enough about money and saving for the future. And that's something really, like pensions are huge, a great way to save money. So that's something I will kind of talk a lot about more later. So now that you've done that and you're saving 15% into your retirement of your money, the next thing Dave Ramsey talks about is baby step number 5, which is save for your children's college/university fund. So in the US, student loans get crazy, like, with the interest rates and everything like that. It's very common for people to have 30, 40, 50, 100, 150, 200k in student loans. And when you have these loans that you need to pay off as well, again, that kind of stops you from building your wealth. So there's certain savings accounts and tax advantage accounts in the US for saving for university or college. In the UK, we don't have that as much, but we do have ISAs, so junior ISAs and things like that. You can save for your kids. You can put money into that and just kind of build up money and save money for university. I mean, university is a whole nother topic I'll probably talk about as well. So my son's probably, he's got to get, in a good few years, he's probably going to get to that stage where he'll be thinking about university as well. And student loans and things like that is something very important to think about. So now that you're saving for the children's college / university fund, the next thing to do, it talks about baby step number 6, which is quite a big one, is to pay towards your house, pay more money into your house. So when you put more money into your house, that saves you a lot of money in the long run, especially like if we want to avoid things like interest and stuff like that. So, you put more money into your house, you're reducing your house payments, and then eventually your house could be paid off. So can you imagine that? Like, I mean, it's something I think about as well. Like once the house is paid off, amazing. Like, you've got all this extra money, you can now invest and build your wealth, which then brings us on to step number 7, which is just building your wealth. Now you don't have any house payments, you don't have any debts, you can just kind of whatever extra money you have, you can continue to invest that. But then also he talks about, which is giving generously as well. So the fact that we are fortunate to have money as well is to kind of also give it away, so which is great for Muslims as well. That's what we want to be as Muslims. We want to be generous, we want to be good role models, we want to be able to kind of give that money generously. And also he talks about, which I really like, is it's one of the most fun things you can do, to give money away, especially if there's a charity that you know about, or someone, or to family, or but also do fun things as well. But also giving money as well is a great thing to be able to do. So I myself will be doing all this. I will be kind of going through these baby steps, and I'll definitely keep you updated on the channel. I'll sort of talking to my wife about this as well, just trying to find out the best way to do this. I definitely recommend checking out Dave Ramsey's content. It's really good, and I have links to that in the description below. So I just want to say thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps with the algorithm. Assalamu alaikum.